first thing you need to do is have all your ingredients set out in front of you so that you're not running around the kitchen trying to find what you need. The other thing that helps is to have like little containers so that you can pre-measure your items that you're going to be putting into your challah. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to show you how I organize my flours. Now I have a lot of gluten-free oat flour. Thank you, Bob's Red Mill. And I can keep it in this container so that when I'm measuring it, it makes it much easier. Okay, and I do the same thing for my tapioca flour and my potato starch, which is over there, and my sugar. And it helps me to measure everything properly when I do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out our ingredients. This is the most important thing, the most. So what I want to show you is why you may be having trouble with your recipe. This is going to be the exact reason why you're having some issues. Are you ready? Okay. So I have my measuring cups. Now I have designated gluten-free measuring cups and everything else that's designated as gluten-free. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out my 9 cups of oat flour. Now what's really nice about this recipe is that when it's done, I'm going to toss the ones that I'm not using today into the freezer, and I'm going to use them on Rosh Hashanah. Yes, it's not that far away. I know you're going to get off now because you're freaking out, but it's okay, don't. All right, so I'm opening up my oat flour. So I want you to see this. This is really, really important. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I measure it is I'm going to sorry about that. Okay, is I'm going to aerate it. Okay, so it's not going to be dense. If you have your flour dense, it's going to taste like the desert when you eat this challah. I've done it. So there was one time I was making this challah and I wasn't paying attention. I was just throwing ingredients in. It was the worst challah I have ever. So I have a leveler that I'm using. This is a leveler. It's my spoon. And watch how I scoop up. Okay, you can actually like spoon it into the cup, or you can do the way I did it. So this is not 1 cup of oat flour. No. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I scooped it and I'm gonna level it. That is a cup of gluten-free oat flour. Any questions? That's it. That's what you need to know. So we're gonna do 9 of those. Count with me because I always mess up. 1, 2. So we've got our 9 cups of oat flour. Now, the other thing we're gonna do is we wanna aerate this. That's the whole point. Everyone keeps saying their gluten-free oat challahs are dense. That's only something you can say about me. I'm dense. Okay, I'm just kidding. So I'm taking a whisk and I'm gonna whisk the flour. This is another really important part. I'm whisking the flour in this ginormous bowl, which I strongly suggest also makes it so easy. So I'm whisking the flour to get the lumps out. Every lump you see makes your challah denser. So I'm whisking the flour. Okay, I'm getting all the lumps out, but look how different it looks now from when we started, right? It looks totally different. It looks like it's fuller, lighter. Okay, so this is what you want to see when you're doing your challah. You want to see this lightness to it. Okay? All right, so I think that's good. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this to the side. Okay, so I have my recipe right in front of me, okay? And the next thing we're gonna do, I wanna show you the oat flour first, but the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the yeast. Now, when you do the yeast, you wanna make sure it's warm. What does that mean? It means that if you had a baby bottle and you wanted to give it to your kid and you didn't want to hurt them, or have them cry because it's too cold, it's baby bottle warm. That's how you decide how warm your water is. So So we're gonna need, okay, 1 cup of warm water. And I have this thing right here, and I wanted my water to be warm, so I'll be right back while I get my water. Because we need to use exactly 4 tablespoons. So 1. Now I didn't have to level it because it's pretty easy to just eyeball that. It's not the same thing as the oat flour where you really have to measure it properly. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. Now, you can see in my kitchen, everything that's gluten-free is designated as specifically gluten-free, and I keep it in a different section of my kitchen so that when you come to my house and visit me, you can eat in my house. Okay, so now we're going to add our 2 tablespoons of sugar in the beginning of the recipe to the cup. Why? Why are we doing that? Well, the reason we're doing that is because yeast likes sugar. And if you add some sugar to the yeast, it makes it happy and it will proof for you nicely, which is what you want. Okay, so we got that sugar, the 2 tablespoons, and we're just gonna set our sugar to the side for a second. And we're going to use this back of this spoon to just mix it up. I had these cute little whisks that I bought, but it's at the other side of the kitchen. I don't want to go get it. Okay. Okay, that's good enough. Can you see? That's what it should look like when it's all mixed. Now, some of you may be like, duh, I know that. Some of you may not, so that's why I'm showing it to you. That's what it looks like. And all I'm gonna do now is set it to the side. Okay, bye yeast, see you later. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna measure out all the rest of our ingredients. So we need 1 1/3 cups of tapioca flour. We're gonna do that into this little cup. Because if I mess up while I'm doing it, I don't want to mess up in there. I'd rather mess up in here. Then I can just dump it back in. Okay. So, I have my 1 cup measuring cup, and I have my 1/3 measuring cup. Man, I need to put my glasses on. Okay, so we have 1 cup of tapioca starch. Does that look like a cup of tapioca starch? I don't think so. So we're gonna do the same thing. Okay, we're gonna level it. So that's 1. Poof. Okay, and we're gonna do 1/3. Same thing. Now we're gonna level it. We're not packing it down either, because if you pack it down, then you're changing the quantity of your ingredient. That's very bad. Okay, so that's our potato starch. No, that's our tapioca flour. All right, next, we're going to do our potato starch. Now, I've had some questions about if you can use some other starches, and in a pinch you can. The starch police and flour police are not going to come and get you, I promise. So if you have to use corn starch or more tapioca starch instead of more potato starch, I promise the police will not come and get you. Okay, so we've got our tapioca starch over here, and now we're going to take out our potato starch. And a little tidbit, you know it's 6 months away. Pesach, stock up. It's really cheap, like 25 cents. Okay, next, we need 2 2/3 measuring cups of potato starch. So now, I want to show you something that I have, which I happen to really like. I get measuring cups that come with a 1/3, 2/3, and 3/4 measure, so that I don't have to figure out and keep measuring all over again. They have these on Amazon and other places. They're awesome. The other thing I really want to show you is I have these measuring spoons. Check out how long they are. So when you're trying to go into a container and get out your spices or whatever, these are super long, and that's what you need. And then I use them to level the other measuring spoons. Okay, don't lose track. We're doing potato starch now. And we need 2 and 2/3 cups. We're gonna put it in here. And why? Because we don't wanna mess up in the big bowl. That would be bad. Okay, so 2, get ready. Okay, we're just gonna level it. Remember, leveling is really important. So 1, 2, and then we're gonna do the 2/3 measure. Now remember, I transfer things because when you have it in the container, it's denser. It's going to be packed into that bag and it's gonna be settled during the processing. So I always transfer my ingredients into other containers because then they're aerated and you're getting a proper measure as opposed to when you shove your cup into a little container. Trust me, it's good. Okay, here's the 2/3 measure. See how easy that is? I don't have to measure 2 1/3 cups. I just got a 2/3. Okay, 2/3. Okay, next. So, 2 tablespoons xanthan gum. Okay, see, I even put my xanthan gum in another container. And it stays fresh that way too. It doesn't get like all gross. Okay, so we're doing 2 tablespoons xanthan gum. Now watch this. This is really important. You're gonna see why I do this. That's how I know I'm not getting the right ingredients. Okay, so here's 1. You ready? I'm leveling it. That is what 1 tablespoon of xanthan gum looks like. That's important. When you're doing baking, quantities are really important because all the ingredients interact together, and if you have the wrong quantity, it messes up your recipe. Okay, so here's 1. Okay. And here's 2. Okay. Let's close this up and we're gonna put it over to the side. Okay. And now we need, I'll need half a cup of sugar. Now, keep in mind, this sugar is different than the yeast sugar. Okay, the yeast sugar is for the yeast to eat for a nice snack. This is to make your challah sweet. So, getting my sugar, gluten-free, so nobody messes up and puts other measuring spoons. You know, in a house where people are glutinous and not glutinous, things can get mixed up. So, if you're making cookies or something with a measuring cup, you could easily use the same measuring cup in the sugar. I keep it separate. Okay, so now we need half a cup of sugar. Okay, we've got 1/2 cup. Okay, well, we're just measuring out our ingredients. Okay, we have a little extra sugar, it's not gonna be a tragedy. Okay, half a cup of sugar. Yum. Sugar, delicious. Okay, and then I'm gonna show you something else that I am also madly in love with. Okay, have you guys seen this before? Have you seen this before? If you have, wave to me, hi. This is by OXO. A lot of companies have it, but I like this one because you can dishwasher it. Okay, so this also, watch this. So for things like ketchup, honey, other ingredients like this, where they're sticky and hard to get out, this is the thing. It works really well. Okay, so now I've got it at 1 cup measure, and I'm gonna take my honey. No, not my husband, he's downstairs working. Okay, so here's my honey, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour 1 cup of honey in here. Whoa, check that out. I think I have enough in here. If I don't, I have more. Don't worry, don't panic. I don't want to make a mess here. Okay, we're almost there. You really want to measure these ingredients accurately. this is the one time, it's not like regular cooking where you can just throw some extra crushed red pepper in and it'll make everything fine. You really do need to measure. So that's why when people say it came out dense, it came out dry, usually it's the user's fault because they didn't measure the ingredients properly, or they overmixed it, or I don't know, they were talking to their kids when it happened. Okay, we're getting there, just a little bit more. Thanks for being patient. Okay, we're almost done, almost done, almost done, almost done. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put the cap on this and turn it over, and then we'll come back to this when we're ready to add it. Okay, so we're getting there. And then we need 2 teaspoons of salt. Now salt is something that I'm definitely gonna measure sideways into the cup because I always over measure salt. It always ends up everywhere, and I don't want a salty challah. That's disgusting. Okay, so I've got my salt, Morton, gluten-free. Okay, so now 2 teaspoons of salt. I've got my awesome measuring spoons, and I'm gonna measure 2 teaspoons of salt. That's 1 and 2. See, that's too much. So I'm gonna take another something and level it. Okay, that's why we do it in these containers. You could use plastic cups. You could use those disposable deli containers. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be fancy, but it really does help to measure your ingredients beforehand. Okay, now we're getting to the fun part. Are you ready? This is the really fun part. Okay, I think we can finish up the honey here. Yeah. Shh, that's not a good sound. Okay, good enough. That's really good. Okay, so now we're gonna move the honey over to the other side of the counter. And we're gonna start adding our ingredients that we measured over here. Okay, look how aerated. For those of you that weren't here before, we carefully measured 9 cups of oat flour. Really carefully. We leveled it, we scooped it from the big container. That's how you measure oat flour. Otherwise it's gonna be too much, it's gonna be packed, it's gonna be dense, it's gonna be gross. Okay, and we aerated it with my whisk. Okay, so now we're gonna add our starches. Okay. And our sugar. And our xanthan gum, which was hiding behind the bowl. And our salt. Okay, and we know that they're all measured properly, so it's gonna be fantastic. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix them all together with the whisk. And again, we're adding air. We keep trying to add air to this challah. Oat flour is dense, okay? So you wanna make sure that you're aerating it. Look how much bigger it looks than when we started. I just keep adding air to it, okay? This is really important. All right, now, here's a cool little thing. We're getting close. Okay, I'm gonna make a well in the middle, okay? And the well is gonna hold our wet ingredients, and then we're gonna slowly incorporate the other stuff into it. Okay, this is so cool. Check out our yeast. Isn't it fantastic? That's proofed yeast. So I'm gonna pour the yeast into my middle of my flour. I'm using a spatula to get everything out. Okay. Okay, next, we're gonna add our oil. I'm doing this a little bit out of order. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, my oil's over here. Okay, and how much oil are we adding? 1 cup, because it's a lot of flour. Okay, so remember, this cup is really, these cups are really good for this, but I'm gonna use my little guy, okay? And what's nice about this is that the measurements are on the inside, so I don't have to kind of turn my head sideways and figure out what it is. So I'm gonna do 1 cup of canola oil. Okay, this over here, put the lid on it. All right, 1 cup, perfect, of canola oil in the middle. Okay, now we're gonna do our eggs. I did not pre-break the eggs because I wanna check them while I'm doing this. And we use so many eggs because it's a big recipe and we're making a lot of challah. Now you can have this recipe, you can, it's not gonna be a problem at all, but we're making a lot because I like to freeze it and then pull them out and warm them. Do not eat these challahs after you make them the first time unwarmed. They must be warmed. It's just the way it is. Okay, so 1 egg. That's 1. Looking good, baby. 1, 2. I know there's the cat, isn't it fun? 2. Okay, you don't need me to count, do you? You guys are really smart. You know how to count already. We've got our eggs, and now, remember we did the honey? Oh, get ready. This is gonna be awesome. Ready? Sploosh. That was fantastic. That was the best ever. And all the honey's out. Yay. Okay, so now we've got all of our wet ingredients except a very important one. Okay, I did something really smart. The reason why it's important to have fresh seltzer is because if you open up the seltzer and let it sit, you don't have seltzer anymore, you have water. And that's not what we're trying to achieve. So I used my SodaStream. Thank you, Israel, for SodaStream. And I made, listen to this, fresh seltzer. You're trying to keep adding air to this recipe. That's what makes the challah light. That's the point. Okay, so now we're gonna pour 2 cups of seltzer. Oh, that's such a good sound. 2 cups of seltzer into the cup. All right. I'm letting it stop bubbling. Okay, now we're gonna pour it in. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on some gloves. Now, I prefer, when making this recipe, to use vinyl gloves. However, I'm out of them. So we're gonna use these instead. Vinyl gloves though, when you're making this recipe, are less sticky. I don't know why, it doesn't stick to vinyl gloves. And also, if you wet your hands a little bit with the gloves, it also helps to do it. Now, we're going to carefully, this is also important, we're gonna carefully integrate the ingredients together. I'm not going to kill it because that will get all the air out. Are you ready? So watch how I'm kind of folding the ingredients into the center. Okay, ooh, there's an egg. Okay, I'm doing it carefully. I am not doing this with a lot of energy because I don't want to let the air out of the dough. Now in the end, there's nothing you can do about it because you got to incorporate everything together. All right. This is why I'm wearing gloves. It's icky. Okay, scraping off the sides of the bowl. Now, very shortly, I'm gonna start using my hands. Okay, but even when I'm using my hands, okay, let's see, maybe I won't. But even when I'm using my hands though, I'm very careful not to over mix it. Okay, I'm trying to get those egg whites incorporated. Okay, we're just mixing up the challah. See, right now it looks really wet. Don't freak out about that because what happens is when we're done mixing this, we're gonna let it sit for a little while and the starches will start to incorporate with all the liquid ingredients. I'm getting my muscle workout. they'll start to incorporate, and what will happen is it'll get thicker. It's already getting thicker. Okay. And I'm scraping the bottom to get all the flour from underneath. You can tell I'm working really hard at this. Okay. But I don't want to like smush it. I'm trying very hard not to smush it. Okay. This is really sticky still, which is good. It's gonna not be sticky in a little while. So I don't want to use my hands yet if I need to. I'm just trying to fold it over to get all of the flour into the dough. And I want to make sure it's mixed properly so I don't have any weird lumps in it. Okay, is this how you guys have when you make your, can you hear my phone? Isn't that fun? I always know what's ringing. Okay, so you can see it's already getting thicker. It's completely incorporated. That's what your dough should look like, right here. Okay, it's gonna be this thick stuff. And I'm going to leave it for a couple minutes, okay, while I'm getting everything put to the side to start putting it together, and it's going to thicken more. Okay, see, it's already getting thicker. Okay, make sure I got everything from underneath. Oh, that's a little bit more. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit for a minute. I'm scared. Okay, I'm going to let this sit for a minute. And while it's sitting, I'm going to take off these disgusting gloves and I'm going to move things around. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to put the challah into. I do need to let this sit because if I don't, it's going to be really sticky and it's not going to be ready, and it's not going to be ready to do any kind of shaping or anything. First, we're going to start with the really simple, okay? You can use these. That's really easy. You just kind of make like a challah knot, put them in here, and you're good to go. Simple, okay? This is challah for a crowd, okay? This is challah for a crowd. I have made this challah for Sheva Brachot. And I made two challahs. I made this one and I made my regular, yummy, delicious, squishy, oh I miss you challah. This one finished. My regular challah is really good. Everybody loved this. So, go figure. Okay, so this is the crowd. So if you have your whole family eating gluten-free, this is the one you want. And again, you can get this on Amazon. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a link on Kosher Every Day for the items that you need for making gluten-free challah. Also, there's something called Trend Brew. I already put together a store so you can see the items that you need, because people are always asking, what should I make my gluten-free challah in? This is one. Okay, now this is where it gets really fun. Okay. Now, you guys have seen these. Everybody's seen these. They're good because they make a really nice little knot challah. And this is going to be really good for Rosh Hashanah because it's round and it's cute and it's perfect. Perfect. Now, when I was in Israel, I found these molds. And then I felt like I didn't buy enough. So I went online and I searched and searched and searched. And then I finally found them. And you guys have to see these. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay. How cute is that? And if you look at it, on the bottom, it says Ba'ahaba. With love. So people who are eating your challahs are eating them with love. Now, when you use these kinds of molds with words in them, you do have to spray them. Any of the silicone molds, you have to spray, with the exception of the Demarl pans. That's a brand. And they're really expensive, and you know, I'm not using them for this. But I do have them for other things. Okay, so you have to spray these with your nonstick vegetable spray. Spray them well. And I always put a little bit of the challah dough on the bottom and press that in so that you get the words. Otherwise, it's just challah roll, which is fine. Okay, the next thing, where did they go? Oh, here they are. These are the ones that I ordered extra ones of. Look at that, they're real challah, little challahs. How cute is that, right? And if you turn them over, can you guys see what it says? It says Shabbat Shalom. So I make little gluten-free challahs that say Shabbat Shalom on that. And that makes them very, 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 very special. See? I got these in Israel, and these are the ones that I had to go back and do some searching to find again. Okay. The last thing I want to show you for the molds is you can also use a regular pan. Now, Wilton makes all these cool shaped pans. They have like these little cruller pans, which make like, which are like long and skinny. Also really good. Okay, now our dough is ready. Look how thick that is now, right? Whoa. Okay, I'm gonna move this over a little bit. I'm just gonna make sure that's incorporated. And I have a wood board that I make my challahs on. And it's a board like this. My grandmother had one, my mother had one. It's fantastic for doing all kinds of stuff on it. Okay, so we're gonna spray these also really well. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit and I'm gonna press it. Okay, I'm gonna wet my hands a little bit. I'm gonna press it into the words. You really do need to use vinyl gloves. These do not work as well. Okay, I'm trying to press it into the words, and I'm gonna do that for each one. Okay. The next thing we're gonna do, by the way, is we're gonna make challah rolls. Literally gonna roll them. And maybe we'll even braid one for you. So exciting. Okay, so I'm pressing this into the words. Okay. And I'm still going to continue with the rest of these rolls.
Hooray!
Hooray! That was my daughter Adina. Adina says hi.
I know.
They're so insulted now. Okay. 2 more. Almost done. Okay, and then we're going to do some braiding. Braiding is fun. Do you guys know how to braid like 12? I do. It's really fun. Okay. While we're talking about braiding challah, I'm going to do a little plug for the Shabbat project, Challah Bake. Everybody should be participating in that. It's a really important mitzvah. Okay, so it's going to be in the end of October. Okay, look at that, perfect. Now we're going to do the next 5. I'm not making these too big, but look how I'm gently rolling them, right? And I'm just going to gently press that in. Okay, and I'm gonna roll this one too. These are kind of big, some of them. Hey Estrella, how are you doing? I hope I'll see you at the Shabbat project this year. Okay, we're almost done with this, and then we're gonna do some braiding. See, what happens is if you let this dough sit for a little bit, it really does become the right consistency for braiding. I do want to make some small ones also because I don't eat such big challahs. Like when you're having company, this is great. Or 1 or 2 people who need challahs. By the way, if anybody here needs a challah for Shabbos, come over because they're going to be fresh and yummy. And I'm going to have a lot of them. Okay? Okay, so these are done. These guys are done and they're going to rise. So that's good. Now, I'm not putting any flour on my board right now. Okay? We're gonna do a basic 4 braid. Okay? You see how I'm just rolling it gently? I'm not really doing anything really difficult on here. I'm just gonna gently roll it. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Just like I would any other challah. Okay? So that's 1. Okay, and you see how I'm tapering the ends? That helps give you that nice little rounded look that everybody loves. Okay, it's gonna be a nice challah. Anybody need a challah for Shabbos? Okay, so that's 1. Okay, now we're gonna do 2. Okay, let's Actually, I want to do it with my hands first. And then, let me see if I can spray this. That'll help. There we go. See, I sprayed the board so it's not sticking to it. Let's smush this together a little bit. Okay. Okay, so that's 2. You know what? I'm gonna do something really cool. It means I have to be right back, but you're gonna love this, I promise. So I'm gonna put some white sesame seeds in here. This is a really good trick. Okay, and I'm going to take this challah and I'm gonna roll it in the sesames, right? See how it's like all sticking to the sesame seeds right now? And the sesame seeds are sticking to it. Okay. All right, so let's put this down here. Okay, we'll make sure, now, let's put these in a container for later. Okay, I have black sesame seeds. They're super cool. So you know how they do these two-tone challahs? I'm showing you how to do that. It's like a bonus for you. I'm sure you did not expect to see that. Okay, so now we're going to take this piece and we're going to do the same thing with this one. I'm rolling it in the black sesame seeds. Okay, and I want to make sure that it's completely covered. Otherwise, you're going to have like weird spacing on it. And you don't want to do that. And it's going to rise too, so you want it to be completely covered. Okay. Let's put this over here. Okay, and we're going to just dump these back in. Okay, I want to do a little bit more of the white because I think that we need to cover the other one a little bit more. This is so cool. Okay, so we're just pressing these in a little bit. Okay, good enough. Okay, now get ready for coolness because this is going to be awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch the 2 ends together. Can you guys all see this? Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm pinching the 2 ends together and I'm just going to roll them like this. There we go. And then we're going to twist it like this. Okay. How pretty is that, right? And if I have a challah pan, I can just put this in the challah pan and it will rise and it'll be really beautiful. Can you get me a challah pan, please? I need one that's going to be about this size, please. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is
A jazz party.
we're going to do what? A jazz party? We're going to make challah rolls. Okay?
I don't want.
All right, so we can just do it on a pan. That's fine. So everybody's like, can you braid this? And I'm like, if you're careful, you can.
Gluten-free challah.
Gluten-free challah, baby. Okay.
Why am I not surprised?
Okay, so we're just taking a little bit, and you see how I'm rolling it carefully between my hands? That's what you need to do. Okay, and then I'm just going to carefully roll it on the board. Okay, very, very gently. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a challah knot. Okay, there's one, right? Just like a regular challah. And what we're going to do is before we put this in the oven, we're going to egg them. So I'm going to try and make a dozen of these. I think we have enough. So that's why when people say, how many challahs do you get out of this? So far we've made 4 of the kind of meaty, like the smaller round ones. You know, not the really big one, but the medium sized ones. They're probably half a pound a piece. I made some smaller ones, which are probably about 1/3 of a pound. I made this really cool black and white challah. And now I'm making challah rolls. And then the challah rolls depend on how big you make them. Oh, that one fell apart. We'll start again. We'll have to make it a little longer. But you see how I'm just gently, there's nothing to be, like you don't want to kill these things. And then what we're going to do is when they're done, we're going to let them rise for an hour. Okay? Okay, so there's 2. And you can use your everything spices on these guys. It's delicious. Okay, so we've got 2 so far. I really would like to get a dozen. Oh my gosh, I'm flipping. It's all everywhere. Okay, this was a little sticky. Okay. Okay, so we're just rolling these carefully. Okay, and then we're making these into challah knots. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that muffin pan and I'm gonna spray it. Okay, and then I'm gonna just put these in there to bake. And it's gonna be super simple. Okay, but I wanna make sure I have my dozen. So here's another one. What do you think I should put on here? I think everything. And now I'm actually scraping the bottom of the pan to get the rest of the dough out. Here's where we're at. That's all we have left. So people are like, oh my gosh, that's so much challah. It's not, it didn't make that much challah. And especially if you're gonna make it like not every single week and you wanna put some in the freezer, and that's really not that much. Okay, so, and then you can give some to your friends and your neighbors. I have some neighbors who might want some challah. Come over and get some. I'm happy to give it to you. Okay, now I'm going to do a little challah knot here. Okay, I'm actually think I'm only gonna get, I don't know if it'll get a dozen. I might not. That's okay. That's why I didn't want to spray the pan before I had as many challah rolls as I did. This is gonna be really good right before Shabbos. Seriously, if somebody wants a challah, come over and get it. I have a lot. Okay, so let's do this. Okay. I think I only have enough for 2 more. Okay, see, bowl's empty. What I'm going to do at the end of doing this is I'm going to say sayonara and then come back in an hour and we'll bake them. Or I'll come back when they're baked. And then you can see what they all look like. Okay, and don't forget, I will announce the winner. I'm going to pick a random number, and then from all the viewers from today, that person will win the huge Bob's Red Mill prize. I know, it's really exciting. I want it. Oh, I smooshed this because I wasn't paying attention. Okay, if you're gentle, see, the thing is you can re-roll these because if you're gentle, then you haven't like gotten all the air out of it to begin with. So that's good. Okay. I'm gonna have 7 challah rolls. And they're gonna be a nice size. They're not gonna be tiny, but they're not gonna be ginormous either. Okay, 1 more. And then I'm gonna spray that pan. Okay. Of course, the last one is gonna give me a hard time, right? Isn't that how it always works? Okay. Now I have a dough scraper, and that's how I'm going to clean this board afterwards, because otherwise you can't wash off the stove right away. It won't work. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to egg them now. I will egg the challahs after they rise, and then I'll put whatever seasonings on top I'm going to put. Okay. So let me take off my gloves. And we are going to use this pan, okay? I like the fact that it's shallow. You can see from the side, it's like muffin top pan. Okay, and I'm going to spray 7 slots. So this is a Wilton pan. Yes, I did used to work for Wilton. Did you know that I used to teach cake decorating classes? It's true, I did. You know what? This is a little small, I think. I think we're going to do something different. It happens. Okay. Plan B. We use these guys. And that works too. So here's 1. Yeah, that's going to be better. And they're going to rise, so it's fine. 2. 3. 4. 5. Now, what what I'm gonna do is I have a huge plastic thing, a roll of plastic. I'm gonna cover all the challahs with plastic and I'm gonna let them rise for an hour. I really, really appreciate you all coming and watching today. If you have any questions, feel free to private message me. You can also, under this post, you can also ask questions, and you can also come back in about an hour and a half actually, and we're gonna bake these, and then I'll show you what they look like after. If you want, I can come back and egg them, but I think everybody knows how to egg a challah. You don't need me to do that with you. The ones that are upside down, I don't egg those. You can theoretically take them out about 5 minutes before they're done baking, 10 minutes. Take them out of the molds, egg them, and then let them brown. I'm too lazy, I don't do that. So thank you everyone. Look for me on koshereveryday.com and Everyday Gluten Free, gluten-free.com. And if you have any questions, I'm Sharon Matten. Thanks for watching.